In the heart of Japan, where tradition meets modernity under the bright neon lights, a story of contrast and complexity unfolds, hidden from the everyday gaze. It's a narrative woven with the threads of cultural endurance, hidden truths, and the silent whispers of those living in the shadows. Tonight, we embark on a journey to uncover these hidden stories, shedding light on the multifaceted world of Japan's oldest profession and the poignant tale of Tokyo's Toyoko kids. Through the lens of fact and reflection, we aim to pierce the veil of night, seeking understanding in the depths of the unseen. Welcome to Japan After Dark, where the unseen becomes visible under the neon glow of Japan. I will be your host for the night, guiding you behind closed doors to explore the complex issue of prostitution, questioning the existence of the unseen in a land known for its discretion. This episode kicks off our journey into the darker, untold stories. So, grab your preferred drink, and let's dive deep into what lurks beneath the surface after dusk in the land of the rising sun. The history of prostitution in Japan is as old as its cities, intertwined with cultural, economic, and social evolutions. From the licensed pleasure quarters of the Edo period to the covert operations of today, this profession has mirrored the changes in Japanese society, often reflecting the unspoken complexities of its moral and ethical boundaries. During the Edo period, Japan's pleasure quarters, known as yukaku, were sanctioned areas where licensed prostitution thrived. Geishas, highly skilled entertainers, were an integral part of this culture, providing companionship, entertainment, and sometimes sexual services to a wealthy clientele. Fast forward to the modern era, and while the landscape has changed, echoes of the past persist. In contemporary Japan, prostitution exists within a gray zone of legality and societal acceptance. The anti-prostitution law of 1956 officially banned the sale of sexual services, yet the industry persists through legal loopholes and the cultural undercurrents of discretion and privacy. Today, red light districts in Tokyo attract visitors from all over the world, offering a dizzying array of entertainment options, including hostess bars, strip clubs, and massage parlors. Behind the glittering facade, however, lies a darker reality, one that often preys upon the vulnerable and marginalized. In the neon-lit corners of Kabukicho, a crisis unfolds silently. The Toyoko kids, a term that has come to symbolize the plight of young individuals ensnared in Tokyo's darker nightlife, reveal a disturbing facet of urban vulnerability. Toyoko kids, coined to describe groups of young individuals, predominantly teenagers, who have found a makeshift sanctuary in the Toyoko area, near Shinjuku's Kabukicho district in Tokyo. This area serves as a gathering spot for boys and girls without a place to go, many of whom are seeking refuge from various forms of hardship, including family issues, homelessness, or simply seeking a sense of community and belonging. The Toyoko kids, often marginalized by society, navigate through the complexities of life with limited support, relying on each other and the occasional kindness of volunteers who provide meals, advice, and a listening ear. However, the precarious situation of the Toyoko kids has inadvertently made them targets for exploitation, including the rise of prostitution within the area, the lack of stable support systems, coupled with the immediate needs for survival, places these youths at high risk for exploitation by individuals and groups who prey on their vulnerability. According to recent reports, the number of young people engaging in survival sex or commercial sexual exploitation in Tokyo has been on the rise. Experts attribute this trend to a combination of factors, including economic hardship, social alienation, and the pervasive influence of digital technology. The intersection of homelessness and the need for basic resources can push some into the shadows of underground activities, including sex work, as a means to cope with their circumstances. This issue highlights a broader societal challenge: the need for comprehensive support and protective measures for at-risk youths, aiming to prevent exploitation and provide pathways to safer, more stable futures. The situation surrounding these kids is being exploited by a range of actors, from individuals with malicious intent to organized groups seeking to take advantage of the vulnerability and lack of resources experienced by these youths. These exploiters often include traffickers, pimps, and others involved in the sex trade, who see the desperation and isolation of these young individuals as an opportunity for exploitation. Additionally, there may be local business owners or entities in the entertainment and nightlife sectors of areas like Kabukicho, who might indirectly benefit from or contribute to the demand for such exploitative practices. But you may wonder why the government or the police are not doing more when Japan and the government in Tokyo advertise a low crime rate each year. The situation regarding the Toyoko kids and the broader issue of youth exploitation in Japan is complex and multifaceted. The Japanese government has made efforts to combat trafficking and exploitation, demonstrating increased activities in identifying trafficking victims. However, challenges remain, notably in the prosecution and conviction of traffickers under laws that prescribe insufficiently stringent penalties, often resulting in suspended sentences or fines for convicted traffickers. This approach undermines efforts to deter traffickers and does not fully address the severity of their crimes. Law enforcement bodies have been criticized for not systematically screening hundreds of children exploited in the commercial sex industry for trafficking indicators, which hinders their access to protective services and legal recourse, allowing exploiters to operate with relative impunity. The continued reliance on disparate and ineffective identification and referral procedures for victims of all forms of trafficking exacerbates the issue, as it can lead to victims being punished for unlawful acts they were compelled to commit by their traffickers. Despite these efforts, there is a perceived lack of political will to fully address all forms of trafficking and provide adequate protection and support to victims, contributing to the overall challenge of combating youth exploitation and prostitution in Japan. All of these suggest that while there are efforts underway to address the exploitation of vulnerable populations in Japan, significant gaps remain, particularly in the legal and enforcement frameworks, victim identification and support, and the political commitment to eradicating these issues. The government's approach to tackling these problems, as detailed in the U.S. Department of State's Trafficking in Persons Report for Japan, reflects an ongoing struggle to balance between recognizing and acting upon the complexities of human trafficking and exploitation within its own borders. Moreover, the stigma surrounding sex work and the societal reluctance to openly discuss issues of sexuality and exploitation further complicates efforts to address the root causes of the problem. This culture of silence can leave victims feeling isolated and without support. However, amidst the darkness, there are glimmers of hope. Organizations and grassroots movements are working tirelessly to provide support and resources to those affected by commercial sexual exploitation. From outreach programs to shelters, these initiatives offer a lifeline to those in need. The complexities surrounding prostitution in Japan and the emergence of the Toyoko kids phenomenon underscore the urgent need for a multifaceted approach that addresses the root causes of exploitation while providing support and resources to those most at risk. We must confront the societal factors that perpetuate the exploitation of vulnerable individuals, whether it be poverty, homelessness, or systemic inequalities, by addressing these root causes and fostering a culture of openness and support. We can create a safer and more equitable society for all. Although in this video, we focused a lot on the youth side of the problem, the issue with prostitution in Japan is much larger and far more sinister than that. It's essential that we move beyond the stigma and shame associated with sex work, and instead focus on providing comprehensive support and resources to those who need it most. This includes access to education, housing, healthcare, and mental health services, which is often neglected in a country like Japan. As the sun rises and the city comes alive once again, pulsating with energy, let us not forget the voices of the marginalized and the vulnerable. Their stories are a reminder of our collective responsibility to create a world where everyone can live with dignity, respect, and opportunity. In the next part, we will go much deeper into the subject and address the case of the Howl of Kabukicho. I was glad to be your host for the night. Stay safe, and I will see you next time, after dark.